Poducer.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to Poducer, the podcast for producers. Today, we're joined by Dr. Shannon Switzer. Welcome.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. First doctor on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
I'm very excited about that. I feel like it just kind of like stamps the podcast with a little bit more officialness.
Yeah.
But could you tell the people what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a doctor of audiology, and I specialize in music industry audiology. So an audiologist is responsible for diagnosing and treating hearing disorders and balance disorders. And within that scope, a tiny amount of audiologists focus on preventing hearing disorders, or hearing conservation is how we think about it. And over the last 40 years or so, particularly in the last 10 or 15, I would say, a small group of audiologists have really started focusing on music industry hearing wellness, because the music industry sound exposure is completely unregulated, which is a big problem because musicians and sound engineers and producers need healthy hearing to do your gigs, to stay in your career path. So I really focus on educating the music industry, which is why I'm here with you, in addition to talking about thin mints, as we were earlier.
Also another thing, Trader Joe's lover, audiologist.
Yeah.
Just two of them important parts.
That'll be in the director's cut.
Yeah, the preamble.
The preamble, exactly. But yeah, my job is to really focus on educating the music industry about why they should care about their hearing, ways to keep their hearing healthy, if they're in the early stages of hearing loss or other hearing disorders like tinnitus, what can be done to stabilize it and manage it. And then have a little fun too. I'm really lucky. In addition to helping people, I get to take in a lot of really amazing live music and get out and see my patients do their thing.
Yeah, Sensaphonics is the spot for professional musicians and from Chicago, living in Chicago, whatever. And also, I'm sure you guys get a lot of out-of-towners. Quick backstory, I went to Columbia College, Chicago, and they were big proponents of Sensaphonics. Shout out Benj Cantors, my guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the program there was very adamant about hearing protection, because it is your tool in this line of work. Literally, if you're using your ears, like, you need them. They're pretty important.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of different avenues to go here. We're going to talk all about about hearing and whatnot. But I wanted to start out with like a fun icebreaker question.
Sure.
Something we ask all of our guests, which is just, what was your first concert that you attended?
Yes. Okay. So I grew up in Vermont, and someone should start a Vermont counter right now, because I'll probably bring it up a dozen more times. I love Vermont, proud native Vermonter. So I grew up in Rutland, which is also where the Vermont State Fair is every year. And when I think I was 7 years old, we had front row tickets on the fairgrounds for Charlie Daniels, which was so exciting. I still only know one Charlie Daniels song, which is The Devil Went Down to Georgia, of course. But that sort of concert experience, to see a live band playing like that and be in the front row and hearing the roar of the crowd, it was just so, so exciting. And then I think I had like a huge gap in my next concert, because Vermont's very rural. The local music scene is great, but there's not a lot of touring big opportunities to see live music.
What's the local scene like? Is it, I'm just going to throw something out there, bluegrass?
Bluegrass,
Yes.
yeah. Bluegrass, folk. On the radio, it's a lot of classic rock, indie music. But yeah, there's the Irish folk music has a really strong presence in Vermont and New England too.
Nice.
Yeah. So the local scene is rich, but calm, I would say, compared to being in a live setting.
So Vermont, real quick, do you like miss it for the rural, like, just calmness of it? Because in the city, I mean, it's chaos over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Right. I know Vermont to Chicago are just two different worlds. There's a lot that I miss about Vermont. It was such a beautiful, safe place to grow up, and you spend a lot of time outdoors, just making your own fun, like running around the woods, making mud pies, things like that. And then, of course, like the skiing is fantastic. No one in Vermont pays to go skiing. You have a cousin or a friend of a friend who can get you through the gates onto the mountain. And the people, the people are so wonderful. Vermont is beautiful, but it's not an easy place to live. You have to have a certain sort of grit to endure sometimes 8 months of winter, or, temperatures below 45. And I find people are just very generous. People are witty, and they're hardworking. So there's a very low threshold for tolerating BS, and I find that refreshing.
That's nice. Sometimes I feel like the Midwest, it's like, oh, people are so nice in the Midwest, but it's like Chicago Midwest, it's like, I don't know, people are kind of not that nice in my opinion. But not to poo Chicago, but
yeah. But on the other hand, Chicago's the reason I'm still here, in addition to Sensaphonics, is
thank you for making this positive.
The city of Chicago is so wonderful. I mean, it still, I've been here for 10 years. I moved out in, oh my gosh, I've been here for 11 years now. I moved out in the fall of 2014 to go to grad school at Northwestern for audiology.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what brought me out here. And then, and still now, it still floors me that you can go out and see live music 7 days a week and have so many possibilities. You could go, even if you had unlimited hours well, not limited hours, but if you had the ability to go fill every single evening with music, you still couldn't see everything that's on in the city.
Oh yeah, the other week when it was like North Coast and Arc, and like there was System of a Down and like Avenged, and then My Chemical Romance it was like too much going on.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me anxiety.
Yeah, I think
I got out of here for that week, and I was like, it's too much.
Meanwhile, I was at Arc, like, this is the best weekend of the summer.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm a 5
Do you dabble in the electronic scene? Because we have a lot of electronic producers, musicians on the show. That's probably the biggest sector. We don't do as many bands, but
yeah,
I mean, it gets loud at those shows, so we got to talk about hearing protection. We'll get there. But do you dabble in the electronic sphere?
I would say I more than dabble in the electronic sphere, which was surprising to me, but also a result of moving to Chicago. Yeah, I love house music. Starting to get a little bit more house techno-y.
You're getting into techno a little? Dark side.
I know.
I mean, in a good way.
I know. That's so funny. I used to hear techno and I'd be like, woo, that's a lot. That's intense. But now I've listened to so much house music, I'm like, do I need something harder?
Nice. I like that.
I feel like that's how the pipeline tends to go.
That's what Chicago does too. You're like, I like Malort now. And you're just like, I guess.
Yeah. Can I just have like room temperature Malort? Like,
I keep some on, just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's like a fun way to get into how you got into your career path. What about the ear to you is, drew you to it?
Absolutely. So I have a musical background myself. I've played clarinet since I was 8 years old, and tenor sax a little bit, but mostly clarinet, mostly classical music. And that was my whole life, my whole passion. I formed my identity around that. And then it was time, my senior year of high school rather, to decide, what do I want to do with my life? And so I had I seriously considered trying to pursue clarinet professionally, but it also seemed scary to me to not know, if I become professionally trained, what sort of job opportunities are there for me. I just didn't know. And I think if the internet had been a little more up and running when I was applying for college those days, and I just had more access to information, things could have been different. But also to say, I decided I'm going to pursue something that if I get X degree, I'll get X job. Just match it up. So I wanted to do something that could help people. And I didn't want to do anything too gory in terms of the medical field. I don't really do blood or guts. And so that narrowed a lot down.
I got older and I just got that thing when I see blood, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm
kind of a wuss. It's fine.
No,
it's cool.
You're having what I consider a normal reaction to, like, we're desensitized to so much these days. That's a different podcast and a different discussion. But yeah, no blood for me. So that ruled out a lot of stuff. I didn't want to teach, so that ruled out a lot of avenues too. Ended up landing on speech pathology.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I went to school. I went to the University of Vermont for speech pathology, and got about halfway through that degree and realized I don't really like working with kids, which is a problem because that is most of those job opportunities. And fortunately, my junior year of undergrad, they have you take Audiology 101 as part of the speech pathology curriculum, because if a child has a hearing impairment, it can really impact their speech and language development. Makes sense. So they just wanted you to have some background idea of, as an SLP, what happens when you refer to audiology. And day one, the professor, Dr. Liz Adams, who I'm still in touch with, who became an incredible mentor to me, she just went through the basic anatomy and physiology of how sound moves from the ear to your brain. Because of my music background and my love of music, it was like a lightning bolt moment. And I just had the truest feeling, this is it. This is what I want to do. This is amazing. How come I don't know this already? How can I tell more people about this? Because I felt then, and I still do, that if people understood how magical their sense of hearing is, but also how fragile it is, people would be taking much better care of their ears.
It's really magic.
It is.
I mean, just the fact that we can like talk to each other and be like, oh, that means something, and like it's happening instantaneously is really interesting. So I figured we can, I mean, if you would like to continue the story just to like how you got to Sensaphonics, we could do that real quick.
Sure. Yeah. So I switched to audiology, and that meant pursuing a doctorate degree instead of a master's on the speech track. So I applied to Northwestern, partially because they had an accelerated doctorate, because I'm
I was listening to this on your what was the other podcast you did?
Bending Brains.
Yeah, shout out Bending Brains.
Yeah,
great pod.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you were saying how it's like you were just like in the week, like just working constantly to get that degree done. Yeah,
it's normally a 4-year doctorate, and Northwestern does it in 3. So instead of 3 years of class and clinicals and then a final year residency, it's 2 years of class and clinicals and then a final year residency. So, and
then through that program, you got connected with the people at Sensaphonics.
Yes. Yeah. So I had a quarter rotation there. I begged for it. They only take second years or higher because it's a very specialized work that happens there. So you can't be learning how to do a hearing test and be at Sensaphonics at the same time. And so I had heard from second year students how interesting it was. And I walked into the academic coordinator's office and I said, I will do anything to have this placement. It blew my mind that a hearing clinic would specialize in musicians' hearing health. And I said, for the rest of the year, I'll drive to Wisconsin for my placement if I have to, if I could have one rotation at Sensaphonics. And so I got it. And that was in 2016. So I've been in and out of Sensaphonics for 9 years now, Dr. Santucci, Dr. Michael Santucci, the founder and the president, still at Sensaphonics. Once my mentor, still my mentor, but now my boss and my friend too.
Yeah, now you're rocking it as a true audiologist, doing your thing, filling people's ears with, I don't know if it's silicone or what it is. It's like a goo and it hardens, and then they make custom in-ear plugs for you. And
Exactly.
yeah, it's a whole thing. I got it done.
Yeah.
It was a must for me.
By me?
It might have been you.
I'm sorry that I don't remember.
Are there
see so
multiple women audiologists there? This was a while, like 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
No, so it wouldn't. Well, I started full time in October of 2022 at Sensaphonics.
Okay, maybe I can't remember. It could have been you.
Honestly, I'll go to the clinic tomorrow
Check
and
the records.
check your records for your name and who saw you.
Please.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I wanted to really quickly, I was thinking maybe I could try to explain it and then you could fill in where I get it wrong. How hearing works. Basically, we got pressure fronts in air, which move the molecules, which creates sound. I already messed up. Pressure fronts in air goes into your ear, your pinna. That's like the ear part. And then it goes into your ear canal, hits tympanic membrane, your eardrum, and that vibrates, and it's connected to 3 of the smallest bones in your body.
Not the smallest, or not some of the smallest, the smallest bones.
The smallest bones.
And there's 3. You're right about that.
Yes. And then that pushes on this other part, which I forget the name of, which then basically pushes this into your cochlea, into the basilar membrane, which has hair cells in it, which tickle certain parts of a nerve, which then leads to your brain and then is interpreted into sound. And it happens, I don't even know what the latency is. It's basically instantaneous.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, that's probably more detail than I go into when I do my canned at Sensaphonics. So.
Yeah, can I get the canned one now?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So what I say to people is, I've already sprinkled a little bit in, I'm realizing, but I say, we talk about their case history. You're going through this, here's your goals. Okay. Before we do the test and the ear mold impressions, let me teach you more about how your hearing actually works. And I say, your hearing is magical. It's very special, but it's very delicate. So you have to be active in trying to keep your hearing healthy. So sound moves through the air. Your pinna is a big piece of cartilage that sticks out from the side of your head because part of its job is to help a little bit with localizing sound. Part of it is to help you pick out sound from a soundscape. So in other words, directionality, basically.
Yeah, like it hits the top of your ear and then it bounces downwards and it's all happening at the speed of sound.
Exactly. So like you said, by the way sound hits your physical pinna, or your auricle is another word for that big piece of cartilage. It dials in a lot of spectral information about sound that your brain uses to assign meaning to it. But its main job, in addition to that, is to funnel sound from the room down your ear canal so you can actually start hearing it. And so sound goes down your ear canal and then it hits your tympanic membrane. And then I always pause and I say, by the way, and I have a diagram behind me, and then I put my hand next to the eardrum. So you see the pinna, the ear canal, and the eardrum. And I say, when someone looks in your ear, this is all that they can see. They cannot tell anything about your hearing sensitivity. A lot of people, and I started doing that because I said that once, maybe 2 years ago, and the patient kind of had this wide-eyed look. Like they had always thought that you hear with your eardrum, and that every time they've seen their primary care physician and they look in your ear and go, looks good.
It's just like a speaker cone. They're like, nice, that's good.
That they were like, okay, my eardrum is healthy. I haven't ruined my eardrum, so my hearing is healthy. We can't tell anything about your hearing just by looking in your ear. So I built that into my counseling, and still at least once a week, usually 2 times a week, I see that kind of wide-eyed look that's like, oh, that's not what I thought. So you can't, your eardrum looking at the eardrum is not a hearing test, and that's why you should get your hearing tested regularly, which we'll go into that more. But what someone's doing when they're looking in your ear is they're looking at the health of the eardrum. Is it healthy? Is it irritated? Is there maybe fluid buildup behind it? If you had tubes when you were a kid or lots of ear infections, there is often residual scarring on the eardrum, which doesn't usually affect your hearing, which is nice. We're looking for wax in the canal, infection.
Oh, yeah, I got wax.
Yeah.
I'm a wax guy. I don't know if that's the right word, but I build up a lot of wax.
Waxy.
I'm waxy, yeah.
It's okay. The best of us are, but
it's cool.
I actually like a medium amount of earwax in the ear canal because it's protective. It's antibacterial and antifungal, and it traps debris and objects. So
bugs. No.
What is it? Thursday? Wednesday? It's Wednesday today. This week, I pulled a earbud out of someone's ear canal.
No.
He had no idea it was in there.
Wait. Like the silicone part?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. I think it was a medium size. He could probably go for a small the next
canals.
time. Yeah. So the silicone bud was like the exact diameter of his ear canal. So at some point he took it out and the bud stayed in there.
Wow.
So that was fun. But yeah, checking for foreign objects, stuff like that.
Sure.
So back to the pathway. Sound goes down the ear canal. It vibrates the eardrum, and the eardrum vibrations then go down the three ossicles, the malleus, the incus, and the stapes, the smallest bones in your body. And in this process, they're converted to mechanical energy. And so the ossicles transfer that energy by pressing on the cochlea, like you were saying, which is your actual hearing organ. So we've got two organs beyond the ossicles. One is your cochlea, which is your hearing organ. One is your vestibular system, which is related to balance. That's a whole discussion for a different day. Yeah. There are people whose lives are dedicated to the balance in the vestibular system.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel for
it's
dizzy
just,
patients.
It is vertigo.
Yeah.
I would not wish that on my worst enemy because it is just like, oh, I'm just spinning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just and it's like I found out I was having some vertigo not too long, or it was more just like a headache, and I learned this whole process that they take you through for like your head to like move it in a certain way.
Yeah.
If you have like a crystal, we're getting too into the weeds here even.
Yeah. But you're right though. Yeah, those calcium crystals can get dislodged and float around and give your brain false information about where you are in space and time. And then your eyes say, I'm sitting still, but your ears saying, I'm doing a cartwheel. And that discrepancy is what makes you dizzy.
The worst.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel for dizzy patients is what we call them, which is a term of love, even though it sounds like maybe an insult. You're like, oh, I've got a dizzy person on the caseload today. So your cochlea is your actual hearing organ. It's about the size of a pea. And
wow, that makes sense, but it seems bigger in the diagrams always.
Exactly. Because what happens is on the diagrams, the cochlea is important. So they're like, let's blow this up because we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this. On my diagram, the cochlea is like 2/3 the size of the brain.
That's interesting that they changed the size of it. And I'm sure, I guess some people have bigger cochleas and stuff, but it kind of looks like a little seashell.
Yeah. So it's actually a Fibonacci spiral. Do you know about those?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite.
The best.
Yeah. So
the best spiral.
It is. And for those who may not know, the Fibonacci spiral is basically this perfect 2.5 turn spiral that we see replicated in so many different aspects of nature. So your cochlea is a Fibonacci spiral. A galaxy in the sky or a nebula can be a Fibonacci spiral. Fossils, seashells.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's more that are not coming right to me.
They say that a lot of things in nature kind of follow this sequence.
Yeah, exactly. So the cochlea itself is 2.5 turns. I'll do a live fact check on myself. Fibonacci spirals can go more than that, but your cochlea is a 2.5 turn Fibonacci spiral. It's spiraled up to save space, and it's full of sensory cells called hair cells. Some people think it's actual hair. It's not. Each cell has these little stereocilia projections coming out of the top that look like hair on the cell. So they were not imaginative when naming the hair cells. It looks like hair. So that's why it's called a hair cell.
Very, very, very short hair.
Very short hair cells. And so as sound is moving through the cochlear is full of fluids, different fluids. And on top of the cells, the stereocilia basically project through something called the basilar membrane. And as sound moves through, there's a traveling wave on the basilar membrane. And then we can say the wave crests at a certain part. And those are the cells whose stereocilia gets bent over. That's the cell that fires, turns the energy into electricity. That electricity goes up your auditory nerve to your brain. And then the signal travels through several different checkpoints of the brain all the way up to your auditory cortex. And this is where your brain finally assigns meaning to all of this information. It's incredible that this is happening because there's no delay. Like you said, we hear on the scale of milliseconds. We can detect change on the scale of milliseconds in sound. And there's no delay between me speaking and you understanding. And this mechanical process, this, I shouldn't say mechanical only.
Transduction.
This transduction of acoustic, mechanical, and electric energy is happening seamlessly. And we need healthy ears to do that. So if I may, I'm going to go back into the cochlea.
Run it.
So what's really special about the cochlea, and this is in that first day of anatomy at UVM when I flipped to audiology, this is the fact that did it. If you unroll the cochlea out into a straight line, it's organized like the keys of a piano. So it's called tonotopic organization, in that every bundle of sensory cells is optimized to essentially code a particular frequency. And so when we do the hearing test, that's why we test one frequency at a time. When we interpret the hearing test, that's why we can figure out based on the pattern of the results, based on your history, your symptoms or lack of symptoms, we can interpret the test results and figure out what might be causing this hearing impairment if we find one, and therefore what to do. And so out of everything that can change those cells permanently, sound injury has the most distinct look on a hearing test, period. And we can go into that a little bit more later if you'd like, but yeah, sound injury has the most distinct configuration on a hearing test. And so if we find a little bit of that, we go, okay, you have this, but the good news is, one, we can stabilize it. And hopefully, two, it doesn't look like anything else is changing your hearing, because most of what changes your hearing is not in your control, but you can control this. You can make sure that your sound injury doesn't get worse over time.
And other things would be like blood circulation, autoimmune issues, anything else. Yeah.
So the big five that we talk about at Sensaphonics, and there's lots of subcategories in each sound, of course. We also have circulation, so vascular health, and that includes things like high blood pressure, diabetes, smoking and vaping. We
Coffee.
have no.
I've heard. No? That's a misnomer? Or I think that's what they told us in school, and I was like, I love coffee, though.
You know, and also the music industry is incredibly caffeinated. So
sure.
Caffeine can make your ears ring a little bit if you've been overindulging compared to what's normal for you. But caffeine itself doesn't typically change the overall health of your hearing organ.
Good to know.
Yeah. So yeah. And I'm not in the business of telling people to drink less coffee. That would be hypocritical of me, as I'm sitting with my Diet Coke over here as well. Sound, vascular health, viruses and diseases, we put those together. And so autoimmune disease, there can be sudden sensorineural hearing loss from viral exposure, which is very random and that's out of your control, unfortunately. Then we have genetics. Some people are born with hearing loss. Some people have a genetic disorder that doesn't really manifest until their 20s or 30s or 40s. And then some medications. So chemotherapy agents, intravenous antibiotics, loop diuretics. These are things that are good. These things will save your life, but they can really decimate the hearing cells, unfortunately, too.
So let's talk a little bit about hearing loss. What can you do to prevent the ones that are a little bit more... Well, let's just talk about sound exposure, honestly, because that's a big thing. You go to shows, it's probably too loud, and there's a lot of factors that can affect it. How loud it is at a certain point, the duration of the loudness. But basically, what happens, from my understanding, is that the hair cells become damaged. And once they're damaged, they don't really recover.
Yeah.
At least right now, we don't have anything.
Yeah, unfortunately. So what makes sound potentially dangerous is a relationship between the average exposure levels, the average decibel levels. And we think about this in hearing conservation in dBA. So we have to make sure we're comparing apples to apples over time. So average dBA over time. So level and time are the two variables. The louder and louder you go, the shorter and shorter your window of safe listening is before you're at risk of hearing injury. Everyone's individual risk is different. Things that can increase your risk for sustaining sound injury is, do you already have a history of loud sound exposure? Do you already have a little bit of hearing injury, like hearing loss or tinnitus is what a lot of people notice first? Are you smoking? How's your general health? Do you have a genetic hearing loss? Have you had some of these medications, etc.? So right now, there's not a great way to measure your personal risk for sound-induced injury. And the reason I go into that is there are two different scales that you can choose to follow when it comes to hearing conservation. One is made by OSHA. We all know OSHA. This is what's legally in place for industrial sound settings for occupational sound exposure. There's also NIOSH, which is the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. So roughly, OSHA standards, even though it's legally what's in place in the US, only protects about 75% of the general population based on average risk. NIOSH protects closer to 96% because it's more strict and it's more difficult for employers to follow. So OSHA says starting at an average of 85 dBA, for every 5 dB increase in level, your safe window listening gets cut in half. So OSHA says at 85 dBA.
What would that be analogous to, like something outside that you're like, oh, that's pretty loud?
There's an app you can use to measure.
Yeah, then
loudness.
I have the NIOSH app.
Good.
Actually. Yeah.
Good, yeah. Music wise, most front of house is hanging out around 100 to 105, 106, depending on the gig. I'd like for it to be high 90s. I know sometimes that's not possible, but OSHA says you can listen at an average of 100 dBA for 2 hours before you're at risk of hearing injury. NIOSH is a lower bar. It's 82 dBA, and then it's a 3 dB trade-off. So by the time you're up to the same 100 decibels, NIOSH says you can only listen for 15 minutes before you're at risk of hearing injury. So what I tell my patients is, if you can follow whichever one you want, you're an adult, you can make your own decisions. It's my job to educate you. I find that 9 times out of 10 people want to follow the NIOSH standards. And then that informs our safety plan for them. What sort of hearing protection should we get for you? Are you using an in-ear monitor? If so, how can we make sure you're using that safely and trying to hit these NIOSH guidelines?
As part of it, that people, like when they're performing, they're listening loud so they can hear themselves over whatever else is happening.
The hope of an in-ear monitor is that we'll do the opposite. Yeah, the hope of an in-ear monitor is that we're going to physically isolate the listener from their ambient environment so they can hear their mix clearly and then turn down their listening levels.
Gotcha. And this is for people that might not know what this is at all. Performers, like singers, any of your favorite pop stars that are wearing like in-ear things so they can hear themselves singing, stuff like that, and other band members and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And so In-ear monitors are really ubiquitous these days. They came on the scene in the 90s, and they used to be very, very expensive. There weren't many models on the market, so like professional A++ bands were wearing them. But now anyone can wear an in-ear monitor, which is great if they're being used safely.
So we're talking a lot on the side of, the musicians, which is super important.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that listen to this podcast are music producers and music makers and find themselves in a live environment. So it is important. But let's say that you don't have in-ear monitors and you're on kind of the other side where you're just trying to protect your hearing. What are kind of like, what should you do? Because I think a lot of people think that, earplugs, they kind of like ruin the sound. I can't hear it good enough. I feel like that's the main reason why people don't use them. They're like, I want to fully enjoy this.
Yeah.
But what would your response to that be?
Yeah, absolutely. So my response is just say no to foam earplugs. I feel like I want to get that on a Dare style t-shirt. Just say no to foam earplugs. There are so many really, really good options out there for filtered or high fidelity earplugs, in that the earplug is reducing the sound levels, but it's a flat response. So your perception is that the sound is nice and clear. So you're getting that even spread between the lows, the mids, and the highs. Whereas a foam plug usually chops the highs right off and ruins the listening experience. There are dozens and dozens of universal fit earplugs. Etymotic is one that I recommend. I know people are, or at least I am with my algorithm, loops and eargasms are all over the internet. Etymotic is basically the same concept for about half the price because they don't do very much brand marketing.
Oh, is it cheaper?
Yeah, it's about $20 for a pair.
Oh yeah, no, the eargasms and loops, it's like you can find those on Alibaba for like $2.
Yeah.
Just FYI. I've looked into it.
I don't know what Alibaba is.
It's just like you're buying stuff from like China or Asia in general, and you're just
like direct to the manufacturer.
It's basically like what these companies do. They just buy them real cheap and then they just sell them as their brand. Those are probably the biggest brands though.
Wow.
But yeah, but the other thing is like if you're going to buy them, you can't just buy like one necessarily. You got to buy like 500.
Right.
So
there it is.
that's like a minimum. But just saying these guys are making a lot of money on these.
Yeah. I'm just like thinking of someone being like, okay, cool. I'll buy the $2 Alibaba plugs, and I'll spend $1,000 to get the 500 pairs at $2. But
yeah, I'll get a shipping container of them. Yeah. But like we'll have a lifetime supply. So
yeah, you could make a ball pit, but like out of earplugs instead.
That would get nasty. So
it would. It would also not be comfortable. I mean, they have a hard plastic stem in them, so
yeah.
See, I told you I don't know anything about kids. I'm not good with working with kids. So that's a great example.
Okay. I'm like, whenever I see kids, I'm like, whoa, yeah, scary. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm like, hello, how are you? Have you seen any good films lately?
I just talk to kids like adults, and I think that there's something good about that, but you got to like gear it up a little bit to be like, oh, you're a child. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to like treat them like little adults in terms of like not over babying them. I know they have a child's brain and we shouldn't expect them to be adults.
Right.
But yeah.
So go for the other earplugs that are, more flat response, something normally with like these rungs of like silicone. Maybe they don't have rungs, but they have some kind of filter, something that.
Yeah, they look like little flanges, basically. So the key to a good sounding earplug is also a good fit, though. So for a lot of people, they feel like universal fit plugs fit very well in their ears. That's awesome. You need to make sure that you're putting the earplug in properly. I see, like at ARC, for example, a lot of earplug usage, which I'm happy about. And when I go to ARC, I'm off the clock. I'm not like thinking about audiology the whole time. So
more.
if you see me at ARC and you're not wearing your hearing protection, it is okay. You don't have to apologize. I've had a few people my patients who I've seen out in the wild have apologized to me.
That's so funny.
I'm off the clock. You're all good. I've educated you and you get to do whatever you want to after that. So, and you don't have to be perfect about your earplug usage. If you're consistent with wearing earplugs when you should be, 80% of the time, I'm happy. You're going to be good. So no one's perfect. I'm not perfect with my use of earplugs either. But find an earplug that fits well in your ears because the fit really impacts the acoustics.
Especially the low end response, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that kind of can get us into like the custom molds. I know where we at least last remember meeting was at the Chicago Electronic Music Conference. Shout out those guys. And you were fitting people for custom in-ear plugs right there. You're shooting goo in their ear that forms into a mold, and then you can make an earplug based off that.
Yeah, I had a really good time at CEMC. It was their first year, in case people don't know, and I thought it was really well put together. And then I got to meet just so many lovely people, including you, I think I molded 30 different DJs' ears that day.
Nice.
It was great. I had the best time, and I've gotten to go see many of their gigs or bump into them in the wild. But yeah, the process for getting a custom fit plug is you have to see an audiologist like me. Never use like an over-the-counter home kit.
That sounds crazy.
That's
sounds like a great way to just get something like, I can't get it out of my ear because I let it cure too long.
Yeah, exactly. Or like you take out the ear impression and there's my ossicles. That can happen.
No way. That's actually frightening.
Well, you would pass out from the pain. So I guess you wouldn't notice that you had pulled your own ossicles out of your ear.
That's terrifying.
Don't ever mold your ear at home. Come see me.
Yikes.
And if you live outside, you're tearing up.
I mean, it was just like you're pulling out like the membrane, the bones, and that's, dude.
I know.
Tough.
What time is it? You'll have enough time to get that image out of your head before it's time to wind down for sleeping.
That's rough.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, see a licensed audiologist to do your ear impression, and preferably someone who has experience working with musicians or working with pro audio products, because the technique and the skill to take a proper ear mold for pro audio products is very different than taking a mold for a hearing aid. And that's what most audiologists are familiar with. So you just have to go a lot deeper. You have to have the musician move their jaw, smile, O's and ahs. You probably saw people doing that at the table, or you did it yourself a few years ago. All of that moves around your ear canal. So we want to capture that movement in the impression. So every time you smile or say, put your hands up, you're not breaking the seal on the monitor or the earplug. So I saw Gaga a couple weeks ago, and she says, put your hands up about 1,000 times. So that was the only thing I could think of that you might possibly say as an artist here.
They say that a lot. Like, there's a lot of hype.
There's a lot of hype. And she says, put your paws up is what she says. So that's for the OG fans.
Are you one of the OGs?
I am. Yeah. So if we're going way back to the start, it wasn't my second concert, but one of the big concerts that I did after my Charlie Daniels concert when I was 8. When I was 18, my graduation present was a ticket to the Monster Ball in Boston. So exciting. So we did the 3.5-hour drive down to Boston, changed in a gas station into our outfits, saw the show, absolutely blew my mind. That was by far the biggest. There were probably more people in the garden in Boston than live in the entire city of Burlington, actually.
Oh, they were just gonna be like the whole state of Vermont.
Nobody, almost. So that was an incredible concert experience. But yeah, I've been a Gaga fan for a long time.
What do they call Gaga fans?
Little Monsters.
Little Monsters, okay.
I feel like that's kind of been slowly faded out. I feel like the first half of her career, people were like, I'm a little monster. And I don't know. I think people don't self-identify as that quite as much, though her fandom is still very strong.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. She doesn't wear Sensaphonics. Not yet. We're working on it.
I'd like to talk about some of like the high profile people you get in there, but
Yeah.
maybe we just finish the process of like, so like you're moving your jaw around, it's doing its thing.
Yeah. Thank you for guiding me back. So
got you.
You see an audiologist for your ear impression. They put something called an oto block really deep in your ear canal. This is to protect your eardrum. So when you put in the silicone putty, it doesn't go too far and touch your eardrum and then harden to that. So we put an oto block in to keep you safe. And then we fill up your ear canals and it sets for about 2 or 3 minutes. We have you move your jaw around the whole time to capture those movements in the canal, because half of your ear canal, the outer half, is made out of cartilage. So it's moving around with jaw movements. And then once we have that, we scan it into our lab computer and we can model anything off of it. So at the CEMC, for example, even though the DJs were all ordering earplugs, I always take an ear impression thinking that maybe a couple of years from now, this might be built into an in-ear monitor, which is a different ballgame in terms of producing a product. So you have to be able to hit all the anatomical landmarks necessary. So yeah.
So when you get the actual in-ear made, it's a little bit more like, you kind of got like, to get it in there, you kind of got to like twist it, open your jaw kind of, and like get it in there. It's like when it's in there, it's in. And there's also different filters of noise reduction that you can get, at least through Sensaphonics, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So there are probably, I would say, 4 or 5 different custom earplug manufacturers in the US. Sensaphonics is one of the major ones. They all build their ears a little bit differently, and they all use, there's about 3 different brands of filters on the market. So we put Etymotic Research filters in our silicone earplugs, and we make our earplugs out of the softest silicone that you can get on the market. Sometimes people make their plugs out of more of a vinyl-y material, which is much firmer. The reason we try to make a soft plug is because of those movements moving around the shape of your ear canal. We want the plug to move with you so it maintains a seal and to keep you comfortable. So you can wear the plugs for hours and hours and hours and still be comfortable. But yes, in the plug, we put a filter. So sound goes through the filter. It's softer, but the clarity is still there. And we can choose between 9 dB, 15 dB, and 25 dB
What
filters.
do people mostly go for?
The vast majority of folks that I see are in a 15 dB filter. So what we select is depending on your instrument, your listening needs, how loud it is, how long the exposure is, and how successful you've been. You know, if I look at the NIOSH chart with the patient and I say, you know, on paper, you should be in a 15 dB filter, you're going to have a 30-day trial after you pick up your earplugs to go see if this is actually functional for you. And the first 2 weeks of the trial need to be giving your brain a chance to react and adapt to listening with these earplugs. We know that they're fitting great. We know that the sound is great, but you have crafted a very unique expectation for sound in your auditory brain for your whole life. And so
you actually have to get used to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a learning period. I call it I say you need to let your brain recalibrate to the change that we've made. And it can be an easy switch for some people. It can be quite a hurdle for others. But there will be a day where your brain goes, aha, okay, I'm wearing my earplugs. I know what track I'm going to listen on now. So sometimes people can't acclimate to the 15 dBs, even if that's where they should be on paper. I will switch them out to a 9 dB filter because I would rather have them wear a 9 consistently than wear a 15 dB sporadically. So all this to say, the best earplug is one that you will wear.
Real. Yeah. Sometimes. So how much do those cost you to do everything? You get a hearing test, right? That's one thing you got to do. And then you get the mold done and then you get them made.
Yes. So there is the cost of seeing an audiologist, and there's a cost of the gear itself. So the earplugs come with one filter level, and those are $200. Seeing an audiologist fluctuates. So to see me at Sensaphonics for an hour-long appointment as a musician, it's only $150. And I know that's not cheap, but it's also well under what we could be charging for that amount of time that we're taking to sit down with people. And the reason we try to keep that cost low is because we do so much education and actually getting to know you as a person and caring about you and your ears beyond just that hour. So during that appointment, we do a full consultation. There's a 4-page case history that I have people fill out. We dig through that. We go through the greatest hits of ear anatomy. We do a hearing test from 125 through 18,000 hertz. Most hearing tests with an audiology stop at 8K because speech is all below that.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That makes not much sense to me.
It makes sense in hearing aid land. Unfortunately, most hearing aid microphones drop way off after 8,000.
Dang, I do kind of want to talk about new tech at some point and like what the world looks like for future hearing aids and whatnot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah,
so the consultation is your case history, coming up with a personalized safe listening plan, the detailed hearing test, and then the ear impressions themselves. So even though the ear impressions are what a lot of people go to an audiologist for, they say, okay, I'm just going to go to an audiologist and get some ear molds done. Your audiologist should be providing doctorate level care to you. And this is a culture that we're trying to change with audiologists too. Audiologists are not properly educated in their university programs to work with the music industry. 95% of an audiology degree is diagnosing and treating hearing loss. 5% of a degree is hearing conservation, preventing hearing loss, and nothing in that 5% talks about music industry listening needs. It's all industrial sound. So don't just go to an audiologist for just molds. Try to find someone who has sought out independent education and training to take care of you. And then you can go back to that person as the years go on. You can check your hearing over time to make sure that it's staying stable. And as your listening needs change, you can talk to your audiologist about it and update your game plan. So obviously, I can't be in 10,000 places at once, though I wish I could, truly. We have at Sensaphonics a directory called Find an Audiologist on the website. And we, over the last 20 years, have trained 100 audiologists across the country on the best practices of working with music industry folks. So we have one in Vermont now. That's new.
Let's go.
But I think we have audiologists in 40 different states, and in many of the bigger areas, bigger cities, multiple audiologists. So try to see them for care. All's that to say, what they charge you, I'm not sure. Everyone's charge is going to be a little bit different. It's $150 to see me.
Typically not covered by insurance.
Correct.
Right. Maybe that'll change.
I hope so. I'm going to take a sip of this.
Yeah, take a sip. Get it going. I told you, I'll talk your ear off. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
So Sensaphonics obviously is at the forefront of a lot of really innovative stuff with music hearing protection and whatnot. So we mentioned before, you guys work with some pretty high profile artists that come specifically to you. You guys started in Chicago. Do you have locations other places now? Okay. And
no, I was just nodding like I am listening to you.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha. I was like, cool. It's expanding. But so most people come into town. Like, how does it normally work? Who are some cool artists that maybe you got to like shoot some goo in their ear? That's how I call it. That's what I call it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the story of Sensaphonics is Dr. Michael Santucci, the godfather of music audiology. He is originally from Chicago. He grew up on the South Side, and then he went off to Iowa and got an audiology degree, moved back to Chicago with his fresh degree, and went, wait a minute, I just learned a whole bunch about how sound can really ruin your ears if you work in a factory. Why are we not applying this science to music as sound exposure? So in 1985, he created Sensaphonics just as a hearing clinic. And he was just literally one at a time encountering musicians in the Chicago scene, going out to shows, going out to bars, talking to bartenders, and just one at a time talking to people about the science behind it. And so they would come in and they would get a hearing test, and he would educate them. And then he would say, okay, you need to wear earplugs. And in 1985, the only earplug available was a foam plug. And so the musicians would use the foam plug and they would say, this sucks. I can't hear. I can't play. How do you expect me to listen with this? I can't do my job like this. So Sensaphonics ended up collaborating with Etymotic Research to come up with the beta plug for what is now the ER musicians plugs. Mm-hmm. So Etymotic made the filter, and Sensaphonics made the first custom silicone earplug. And so once we started making that product, we started making our entire portfolio line slowly over time. So
that's wild that that is the first silicone earplug.
It is,
because they're everywhere now.
It is the first. Sensaphonics and Etymotic together created the first filtered earplug. It was custom. And then through that model, all of these universal fits like Eargasm and Loop, all those universal fit plugs are modeled off of our earplug. And now we have 4 or 5 other companies making a custom filtered earplug using different filters, which is great. We don't have enough.
Slight competition, but also...
It's healthy. It's healthy competition. So Sensaphonics started as a hearing clinic, and when Dr. Santucci ran up into the barrier of musicians want to take care of their ears, but they don't have the proper tools to do it, that's when he created the lab. And so we've always been in Chicago. We are in our current location. We've been there since 1992, I think. But it's 2025, so Sensaphonics is actually celebrating its 40th anniversary this year.
Wow, congrats. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so it's half hearing clinic, which is what I run. And then on the other side of the wall is the lab. So people will come in for their appointments with me. I mold their ears. We check them out. They go, and the ears go right next door and get put in production. So even though this is the only physical location of Sensaphonics, we take orders from all over the world. So that's why we started training some of these audiologists, because...
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
I would say about 70% of my caseload is local, and I'm defining local as within a 3-hour drive of Sensaphonics. And then I would say 30% of my caseload is people stopping in while they're in town on tour. And sometimes they come to the clinic, sometimes I go see them at a music venue, sometimes they're attending conferences, things like that.
Cool. Yeah. Any like notable ones that you were like, oh my God, this is kind of exciting?
Well,
is it also not, can you share that information? Because
I can. So we are a little creative in that we actually call our patients clients for legal purposes, because we can talk about our clients who wear our consumer products, like an in-ear monitor, because clients are not protected by HIPAA laws. That being said, I will never tell you what Dave Matthews' audiogram looks like, right?
Probably not great. Don't say anything. Don't make any facial expressions. No, I'm just kidding.
Neutral.
Yeah, neutral. But I mean, you're playing for so many years and they've been around for so long and blah, blah, blah.
They've also, the whole band has been wearing Sensaphonics in-ear monitors since 1996.
Crushing. That's
and have
nice.
had a doctor of audiology check on them regularly throughout.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
I'm not going to leak any protected health information, but I'll just say Sensaphonics has been around for 40 years, and Every single week, I have patients in the clinic who started coming to us in the 90s, and my God, their hearing is very normal and very healthy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Sound injury is a lifetime. It accumulates over a lifetime. So the sooner you start, the better future you will be. And if you already feel like you're in the early stages of tinnitus or change in hearing, it's not too late. Because whatever you have now, this is your best hearing at this point. We need to keep it this way.
What would be something that you like? Tinnitus, I don't think we really define what that is. It's kind of like a ringing of the ears. It can manifest sounding like crickets or other things. I'm actually kind of curious. Do you know why it kind of manifests in these different patterns? Is it like that you hear a sound, it's happening for so long, and it just like kind of imprints, like that it follows the frequency band that is being imprinted?
That's a good line of thought. It's not quite one-to-one like that, but in general, yes, if someone has a high frequency hearing loss, their tinnitus will typically be pitched higher. If they have a lower frequency hearing loss, their tinnitus will typically be pitched lower. And so sound injury happens around 3,000, 4,000, and 6,000 hertz. So no matter what sound source you've been listening to, whether it's a factory gig for 8 hours or a studio gig for 12, if you're really in the zone, or 2 hours of live music, no matter the sound source, it always tapers around 3,000, 4,000, and 6,000 hertz. Do you know why? I guess I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah. Fletcher-Munson curve, right? Isn't that like the shape of your ear canal? Basically, maybe it's not Fletcher-Munson. I thought
you're
it was.
You're on the right track. It's not the Fletcher-Munson curve. It is related to your ear canal, though.
Oh, there's a resonance
there it is,
of the ear canal.
It's the resonance of your own ear canal. Most adult ear canals resonate around 2,700 hertz. It can be 2,500 to 3K, but most are around 2,700 hertz based off of average size and shape.
And so then you get the intervals of it.
Yeah. So going back to the tonotopic organization of the cochlea is organized according to pitch. Your own ear is over amplifying 2,700 hertz. But then because of the mechanism of the ear and the power of the sound, the response shifts a half octave. And then we're nailing 3K, 4K, and 6K.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So is, just because I thought I was sounding like a smarty pants there, Fletcher-Munson curve, from what I understand, is kind of like the filter of your hearing in a sense. And it kind of changes based on volume. And basically, we're really good at hearing frequencies around like 5 to 8K. It's basically like the range of the human voice. Our ears are designed to hear a baby crying.
That's exactly right.
And things that we need to be alert to.
Yeah. So yeah, Fletcher-Munson curve is more about your perception given a certain frequency, given a certain input level. So yeah, our ears are optimized to hear speech better than anything because survival. That's what it all goes back to. And this relates to tinnitus as well. Your hearing is your survival sense. We developed these really exquisite emergency detecting mechanisms. So we had to have really quick and accurate hearing to hear soft to moderate sounds like a leaf rustling in the woods to let us know there's a predator out there, or maybe prey if you're on the other side. So all of this happened gradually over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. And then the Industrial Revolution happened about 200 years ago, which in the scope of humanity is nothing. And so the world got very loud very quickly, and these cells just can't handle excessive sound exposure. And that's actually why when you wear a really properly fitting filtered earplug, and we're taking the live show or the live sound back down to a reasonable level for the cells in your ears, most people report that they prefer the sound of music with their earplugs in.
And is that because of this curve that we're talking about where it changes based on the volume?
Yep.
Okay.
Partially, and then you can also think about your own hearing cells like peak clipping at a certain point. There's only so
They're
much
just getting smashed.
Yeah, there's only so much input that they can take before they start distorting sound.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, I'm really stuck on this curve. But like, yeah, it kind of flattens out when it gets louder, right? It's just kind of like, from what I understand, I don't know. Anyway,
Well, if we're talking about Fletcher Munson curves, this is part.
we don't have to. I just thought I was cool, dude.
No, they are cool. They are cool. I'll be honest. I need to do a little bit more brushing up on my psychoacoustics. So,
which is fascinating
you can
as
take
well.
A whole semester of psychoacoustics and still be left wanting more. But with hearing conservation, this is why when you use a sound level meter app on your phone, like the NIOSH app, NIOSH sound level meter, it's for iPhone only because it's calibrated for iPhone mics and it's free, $99, as the kids say. But keep your measurements in dBA, A weighting, because A weighting is replicating basically what the human ear does with the frequency response around them, or is more accurately replicating the frequency response of the human ear. DBC takes into account a lot more low end on the measurements. So if you take the same sample in dBA and DBC, DBC is going to make the room look like it's very, very loud.
Yeah.
But those sound waves are not necessarily being funneled into your ear canal and passing through the system. So if you want to scare the pants off of someone, DBC. If you want to be an educated, safe listener, dBA.
Right. Because the low frequencies, I wonder how low it goes, but like some of that stuff isn't even heard. It's more felt.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we should probably, say that you have a certain range of hearing frequency wise.
Mm-hmm.
From what I was told, it's typically like 20 to 20K.
That's it. You got it.
I wish I could hear 20K. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was your last hearing test?
I don't know. We're going to have to go through the records
Yeah.
because I was having some loss and I was sad.
Yeah.
But I think it's manageable.
Definitely.
And I'm very careful about it. I think in my case, sadly, I am very protective of my ears, but I think it's something else.
Okay.
Out of my control.
Okay,
But
yeah.
we don't have to get into that too much here.
Yeah, no, not to let's talk about your protected health information in depth on camera. Yeah, you can see me. We'll do a hearing test. But yeah, a lot of people are pleasantly surprised how well they hear. There's a lot of fear about taking a hearing test. And, just a couple days ago, I had someone who, I got him from the waiting room, and anyone who's seen me at Sensaphonics, I kind of pop into the waiting room. I'm like, hey, I'm Dr. Switzer. Just call me Shannon. Let's go do this. We're going to have a good time. And he was just like silent, very stoic.
He knew he did some damage. He was like, or maybe he was worried.
Very worried. Because in my experience, most of my own patients in the music industry, I know this is a confirmation bias, but I'm very lucky. Most of my parents. That's like a Freudian thing. Most of my patients are like sociable, kind, chatty people to some degree. So the fact that he was like very shut down, it's like, ooh, I wonder if something's going on. Fast forward, do the hearing test. We're like 45 minutes into the appointment at this point. I'm talking at him. It's like a brick wall. We do the hearing test, get him out of the booth, and I go, I have good news. Your hearing is in really, really good health. And it was like a totally different person. He was so relaxed. He was smiling. He was so happy. And he was just so worried about his hearing. And he told me, he said, it's taken me 10 years to come in and do this because I've been so afraid about what the results were going to be. So I hope one takeaway, if folks are still listening to this, get your hearing tested. It's probably better than you're suspecting. And if there is some sort of injury, it's so much better to know about it and know what you can do to stabilize it. Knowledge is power, truly. And I sometimes feel during my appointments that I overeducate my patients, or I used to feel that way. And a couple of years ago, I kind of said to someone, gosh, this has been a lot of information. It's probably way too much information for what you signed up for. And she was like, absolutely not. No one's ever talked to me in this level of detail about my own healthcare. This is so informative. I feel so engaged in the decision making that we're doing regarding my own health and my future. So yeah, I don't ever apologize for overeducating anymore.
No, I appreciate it. I think we need, some people might not know even how their hearing works.
Exactly.
So I feel like, you don't know where people are at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be knowledgeable.
And I'll also just finish by saying, if there are audiologists listening, your patients want information. Your musician patients and music industry patients are curious. A lot of what you can tell them, they already have a background in it. Your ear is basically a piece of pro audio equipment. So educate musicians. I think you're going to find that they're more engaged than you might otherwise think. And they ask really amazing questions, especially my audio engineers. Audio engineers and audiologists have a really healthy overlap in our interest and our way of thinking too.
Yeah.
So that's why we schedule our appointments, because we just yap and yap and yap and yap and yap. And then
talking about frequency bands and stuff. We're like, cool.
Seriously. Yeah, seriously. But yeah, audiologists, educate your patients. Always, never, ever just take your impressions and send them on their way. It's your duty as a doctor.
So what are some other things you can do to protect your hearing, or maybe even, my anecdotal experience is like the more you look to know what level of loudness you're at, the more you might be able to have like a gauge of how loud it is, like if I should maybe put on hearing protection.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other things, tips, tricks? Let's say there's no earplugs in sight. What do? You just back up.
You just go home. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, you just leave your favorite concert.
Yeah, the one that you paid money for and look forward to for 6 months. So if you're in a loud environment and you don't have your earplugs for some reason, first aid usually has foamies on hand. Better than nothing. You can also take some breaks. So you can go out to the sidewalk, get some air for 10 minutes in between the opener and the headliner if you want to, trying to move backwards. You can usually get away with a concert here and there without the use of earplugs. Just don't make it a habit. So that's my way of saying, if you show up to a concert and it turns out you forgot your earplugs, or where are they? I know I had them and now they're gone.
Or you drop one.
Exactly.
That happens you're just, oh man.
Exactly. Please don't spend the whole show freaking out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Consistency is more important than being perfect always. And that's true for everything in life, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I was taught, and this is like a trick that I kind of do. It's maybe not the most cleanly, but like if you ever don't have earplugs, just get some like paper towel or like bath tissue, whatever, and just like roll it up and get it in there. Don't shove it in there too far. Like don't make it so you can't get it out. But that has saved me a couple times. I'm curious what you think.
That's not my favorite thing, because what if all of the paper doesn't come out and then you get a little infection action happening? So we've had, I haven't seen this in a minute, but I did have one person, we ask in our case history form, do you use hearing protection? If so, what? And I know Santucci used to get this a bunch in the 80s and the 90s, but I finally got one that said cigarette butts.
No, that actually kind of would make sense.
Put it in their ear.
Don't smoke the cigarette. Just break it.
Make sure it cools down first. No, just don't put a cigarette butt in your ear.
That's nasty, because you're putting your mouth on that and you're putting it in your ear, and it's got like tobacco juice and stuff.
And
Gross.
also, like, even though it's a filtered cigarette, it's not like acoustically filtered, it's not going to sound good.
Yeah.
That was a bad joke.
It's nasty. I would never
Yeah.
do that. I never really thought about that, but it does kind of make sense.
Yeah. Get a foam earplug. If you don't have a nice sounding earplug and you're at a show, go to First Aid and get an earplug. I'm seeing more and more music venues just have like free big fish bowls of earplugs on the bar. You know, look around, you might actually start to spy earplugs in places like that. Otherwise, we know you should be wearing earplugs to protect you from ambient sounds. Get a pair of earplugs and use a sound level meter app to measure the environment so you can actually see how loud it is and is it earplug time. So we know loud concert spaces are usually loud enough to warrant the use of hearing protection, but something that a lot of people don't think about are moderate sound levels. Going back to the NIOSH standards, you can listen to 85 dB for 8 hours. Like I said, if you're doing a studio session and you're there, that's, in my opinion, and my experience working with engineers, loud for the studio. But some people are there. Either turn down your levels or take breaks throughout the day. So by strategically putting in 20-minute break,
Go eat some lunch.
Yeah. Give your ears some quiet time. Those quiet breaks drag down your average level of the exposure throughout the day. So wearing earplugs when you need to, taking listening breaks, even if you feel like the levels are reasonable, even if the levels are 60 dB, but it's constant sound all day long,
Right.
That's a lot of information for your auditory brain to process. So I've started prescribing quiet breaks to even safe levels of sound because we're all just overstimulated in so many different ways. And don't use your quiet break to scroll on the internet. Give a whole sensory break.
Even
5
for
minutes
your brain.
For your brain. I want your brain to have a break.
Okay. Like, this is not just like for your good health as a person. Well, it is, but this is also for the auditory aspect of it.
Yeah,
Because when there's
absolutely.
stimulation in your brain, it's still kind of kicking in
Yeah.
okay. It doesn't go back down as quickly.
Well, people just get fatigued throughout the day, especially if you're someone who's critically listening, you're mixing and mastering in a studio all day long. You have to take breaks for your ears, but also for your auditory brain as well. And to that point, one thing that I want to touch on was sometimes I hear people talk about, sometimes I get listening fatigue is what they say. You know, I'll have a long day in the studio, I take the headphones off, or I'll get out of the studio speakers and I have listening fatigue, which is normal. My ears just feel a little tired. That's not fatigue. Like my ears are tired, like your brain is tired after a long day. If your ears feel muffled or fatigued, or you have some ringing after a long exposure, that's injury to the sensory cells in the cochlea. So even though you get some rest and it feels like you've recovered the next day, there are still micro injuries happening to the cells. And it's that cycle over months and years that turns a temporary fluctuation into a permanent shift in your hearing.
So a couple things. Just got to write this down.
Yeah.
In terms of like hearing loss, how does it present itself and when? I also know that like we have kind of like a braking system, which is like a muscle connected to the ossicles that like kind of make it so. I've noticed that where it's like I'm in a loud environment and your ear gets like stiff.
Yeah.
And it's because it's trying to prevent like hearing damage, or like it's just your body knows it's too loud.
Yes. So you're talking about the acoustic reflex is what you're describing. So behind your eardrum, connecting the malleus, the first ossicles bone of the articular chain is the technical term. Connecting the malleus to the tympanic membrane are these very small muscles. So when there is a loud sound exposure, the muscles will contract. And that threshold can be as low as 85 dB. Sometimes people have higher thresholds where it needs to be 100 dB before the muscles contract. But they will contract and hold, and you nailed it. What they're trying to do is they're trying to pull the stapes, which is the smallest bone, it looks like a horseshoe shape. They're trying to pull the stapes out of the oval window, which is that tiny little gap at the cochlea.
It's like the port.
Yeah, where the
for a speaker, but
because we did our surface level anatomy, but if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, there's like watch like a 10-minute.
There's other stuff going
like,
on.
What is it called? Hank Green used to do these series where he would do like a deep dive of everything on YouTube. It's not coming to me, but his one about the sound and hearing is really, really good. It's like how this works or something like that. Do Hank Green hearing video. It'll blow your mind how complicated the anatomy is. But what is happening with the acoustic reflex is the muscles are contracting. It's stiffening the ossicular chain and pulling that stapes away from the cochlea. So as loud sound is going down the ossicular chain, it's reducing the amount that's going to the cochlea and therefore stimulating the cells going up to your brain.
Yeah.
In theory, if these muscles evolve to a point where they could stay contracted for the entire duration of the exposure, we could have built-in hearing protection.
Ooh.
I would love that for us.
That'd be sick. What?
And if the sound levels continue to stay the level they are, perhaps humans, if planet Earth is still twirling around in 100,000 years, perhaps humans will have built-in earplugs. It is not going to happen anytime soon. That's not how evolution works, unfortunately. So the muscles are really small and they just fatigue really quickly. So it's temporary. It lasts a couple minutes at most.
So for hearing loss, like sound gets in there, the muscles aren't enough to stop the sound. And the hairs get stimulated. What's like your first signs? Is it the tinnitus? Not tinnitus, guys.
Yes.
I mean, at least I think.
Yeah. It's so hearing loss, permanent hearing loss is when there's change to the integrity of the cells. Sound exposure is one cause, and then we've got those other categories like viruses, diseases, medications, blood flow, etc. So when someone has hearing loss or hearing impairment, typically the first thing that they notice, sometimes tinnitus is the first symptom that they notice. Typically what I hear is, you know what? Lately, when I get into noisy situations, I'm just having trouble hearing what people are saying sometimes. I'm having to ask for repetitions a little bit more. Because when sound, especially when sound injury is the thing that's driving change to the cells, it can really impact the outer hair cells. So we have basically one row of inner hair cells and then 3 rows of outer hair cells. And so they serve different functions, and there's some overlap, but what the outer hair cells really specialize in is adding some clarity to sound. So rather than just transmitting sound, just making sure that the signal is optimized as it is turned into electrical impulse, traveling through the synapse to the nerve, and then the information going up the nerve to the brain. So what we know is happening when you feel like your ears are fatigued or muffled and then it recovers, the outer hair cells are being injured, and particularly the synapse between the cell and the nerve is being injured. So even though your ears feel like they're back to normal, it's not communicating with the auditory nerve with the same integrity that it had before. And so clarity in challenging listening environments is usually the first thing to go.
So you're just getting less data, basically, with those outer hair cells not doing their job.
Yeah, it's less processed. Your system becomes less efficient in processing the data. And then over time, as the cells start to taper away, then the ability to receive data is compromised.
Gotcha. Okay. And I've heard something about how, like, if you suffer hearing loss, it might not manifest for a long time. So would this be like the manifestation being the ringing? And also, do we know why tinnitus happens? Is it like a compensation? So
to the first point, many people who have hearing loss also have ringing. Many people who have hearing loss don't have ringing. And many people who do have ringing have normal hearing. So tinnitus and hearing loss are common to be paired together, but it's not always appearing at the same time. So with tinnitus, and it's tinnitus instead of tinnitus because itis implies inflammation and tinnitus is more neurological. So earlier you asked, why does it sound different? Why is it a tone or crickets and things like that? What tinnitus is at its core is when something changes at the level of the hearing cells and or the synapse and or the nerve, your brain recognizes that something's changed. So yes, your ear transmits sound up to your brain, but your brain also transmits information down to your ear. And so your brain is essentially saying, something's changed. What's going on here? It gets overexcited and you start hearing this pitch instead. For a lot of people, when the onset of tinnitus happens, it's alarming, but their brain realizes in a couple days, couple of weeks, okay, that ringing's still here, but I think things are okay after all. And it starts to relax and the tinnitus gets quieter. And then it becomes this thing that kind of lives in the background. And you can hear it if you think about it or if you're in a quiet room, but most of the time it's non-bothersome. For a smaller subset of the population, when the tinnitus starts, it's very alarming. And their nervous system has a huge reaction to it. And then it gets louder because their nervous system is activated. And because it's getting louder, their brain goes, what's going on here? And then their nervous system
investigate.
increases. Yeah. And it's this race to the top. So the one thing that we really do as audiologists is just focus on something called demystifying tinnitus, explaining to people what tinnitus is, what might be causing it, what can we do to stop it from getting worse, what can we do to help you manage it. So tinnitus has a strong neurological component to it, and there's lots of different things that can cause tinnitus. Sound injury is just one, but it's also common for people to have a low level of tinnitus from sound injury, but then have something else that's making it temporarily spike. So somatic sources of tinnitus, grinding your teeth, carrying neck and shoulder tension can cause low levels of tinnitus to become temporarily louder. Too much caffeine, too much alcohol, taking aspirin. There are so many things lifestyle-wise that can cause fluctuations in tinnitus. And then another thing that I wanted to actually touch on was most of the time when you hear ringing in your ears, it is some sort of level of tinnitus, temporary, or perhaps it's turned into a permanent tinnitus. But there is one other category of ear ringing that is okay. And so most people have experienced this at some point in their life. It's called a transient ear noise, where you have a sudden ringing in one of your ears.
Yeah, it's freaky. It's like,
yeah.
And you're like,
yep. That was actually a really good imitation.
It kind of has like not a pop, but it just goes out.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you feel like maybe off balance for a second.
Because you feel like your hearing's cut out as well. You've got this sudden loud ringing. Your hearing is muffled. You can feel oral fullness, or your ear feels kind of plugged up too. It's lasting 60 seconds or less. And then the ringing fades and your hearing feels like it goes back to normal. That is okay. The healthiest ears do that. It's idiopathic. We're not exactly sure why, but as far as we can tell, it's not a sign that something's wrong with your ears. There was this like crazy rumor circulating on TikTok. I've been TikTok sober since January, by the way.
Congrats.
Never made a TikTok in my life, but oh my God, there's a lot of funny stuff going on that app. The memes were fantastic. You could make a
whole like category about like, hey, Shannon Switzer here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm your TikTok audiologist, and we're gonna disprove some of these theories. You could get some views.
No, absolutely. I should. The only barrier I have is I'm not willing to edit my own content. Like, I will sit here with you in front of a video camera and talk for 12 hours, as long as I can hand it to someone else to edit it. That's honestly the only reason that I haven't made any TikTok content. I
think
can't
we
be
could
asked.
get you hooked up with someone and get. I mean, I would watch it,
Yeah.
but I'm also like trying to be like I'm interested in this stuff, you know?
Yeah, I think there is. But yeah, I could do like myth busting. That would be one. Because the rumor was, it was like, do you ever have this thing when your hearing cuts out and you hear this loud tone? That pitch is the pitch that's dying in your ears and you're never going to hear that tone again. I was like, oh my God, what the hell? So yeah, but the reason I'm going into this as well is I've encountered audiologists who don't know the difference between a transient ear noise and true tinnitus. So if you have that, if you're experiencing that, it is okay. Your hair cells are not dying at 12,000 hertz or whatever you're hearing. That's all good.
I thought it was going to become more like esoteric, where it's like, that's actually your true frequency or something. Like, that's your resonant frequency.
Your aura vibrates at the pitch that you're hearing in your ear.
And then you can like find the color that correlates to that.
That's what I was going to say.
And that's your aura.
There's like some synesthesia in there somewhere. So
it's all frequency, you know?
Well, everything's frequencies, man.
Yeah, dude.
If you, anything could be frequency if you just believe enough.
It's real.
Should we start like a new age cult podcast about sound?
I think if we really wanted to throw people off the like whatever's real out there, we could start this rumor that that's your true frequency.
Let's do it.
And we could just build a whole narrative around it. I remember learning in school about autoacoustic emissions.
Mm-hmm.
What, like, isn't that when your ear actually makes noise?
Yes.
So it's like man, I really feel like I'm doing a lot of educating here, and I hate being that. Like, I want you to be the educator, but
you can be the educator. I'll be the fact checker.
Okay, cool. So here we go. So your ear is like a microphone, which is a transducer, which turns one type of energy into another type of energy, and a speaker is the same thing. And if you reverse the chain, they're kind of, opposites of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So an autoacoustic emission would be that your brain or something is like sending a signal to your ear and then using your eardrum as like a speaker cone. Is that kind of what's going on?
So you're definitely on the right track. So the sensory cells, the hair cells in the cochlea will emit their own sound. This can happen spontaneously, which is more rare, or it can be elicited by playing sound to them. So yes, you can play sound to the sensory cells and then measure the sound that they play back. And so there are different types of otoacoustic emissions. Newborn hearing screenings these days, a lot of them are using OAEs as the acronym for it. So a lot of babies are passing their hearing tests because we're measuring that the cells are there, they're working, they're playing sound back to us. It used to be an ABR, which is an auditory brainstem response, and we still see that too, where they put electrodes all over the baby and you measure that your brainstem is responding to the sound that's going in. But that's one purpose of OAEs. But one really interesting purpose of OAEs is that we can detect change in OAEs before we see it happen on a pure tone audiogram. So when you sit down and get a hearing test and you press the clicker for the beeps, that's the standardized pure tone audiogram. And sometimes cells can sustain a certain amount of injury before the injury is severe enough to actually change your threshold of hearing on a hearing test. So we're starting to see that sometimes OAEs can detect change in the integrity of the cells before it shows up on the pure tone audiogram.
So is that like some newer tech that can help you guys identify?
The research really started in the 90s, I want to say, but it's very much ramped up the last couple of years. Northwestern, my alma mater, did a ton of research in the early days, and we are getting OAE equipment at Sensaphonics.
very exciting.
This fall. I know.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm very excited
Upgrade.
to start. Yeah, I feel like I'm like so pleased that you brought this up. I feel like I could have like planted that question because it's so relevant. I'm really excited to start collecting OAEs and seeing am I seeing this in clinical practice? Are they changing before I see it on the pure tone audiogram? So you have to come in, you have to get your baseline OAEs, and then you compare it year to year.
So this is like interesting. It's like another graph that you can look at. Okay. Thank you, Benj Cantors, for just drilling down on telling us about random, interesting audio things.
Benj is the best.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
We got lunch a couple months ago and just nerded out.
Nice. You're
sound.
Like, dude, ears crazy. Do you know what? No, I don't know. I don't even know what I was going to say.
It was a mix of nerding out about ears, but then also just like dreaming about the future. Like, what could we do? How could we improve access to hearing healthcare for the music industry? What channels do we share? What channels are unique to us? How can we put the right people in contact to make effective change? So, I think Ben and I, and this is true for a lot of people who are interested in what we do, audiologists, audio engineers, but I think we dreamed up enough action points to fill 2 or 3 lifetimes of careers for sure. So it takes a village though. I mean, that's what this is about. I'm so thrilled that Columbia is so strong in educating their students about hearing health, that Sensaphonics has played a role in that. It really takes a village. Not one single person holds the key to all of it. So the more people who are educated, even in a tiny fraction of what this is about, the better, because they can pass it on to 10 more people. And so my hope of part of why I'm so thorough during my one-on-one appointments at Sensaphonics is that the patient will leave feeling, 1, confident in their education, but 2, so excited about what they just learned that they're going to go and tell 3 to 5 people about it. If they tell one person anything that they learned, I'm happy. So
I mean, your ears are they're always going. I mean, I guess your eyes are always going, but you can close your eyes. I mean, you can put something in your ear to stop sound. I'm kind of curious just about like because when it gets into the brain, it gets really confusing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But just because the brain's so complicated, but I'm sure that, your auditory system of your brain, like, do you know how big it is compared to like your eyes, for example, or like just because there's a level of importance, like we are so eye focused, like people go to their optometrist and they get regular eye exams. Some people even have eye doctor insurance, whatever it's called.
Vision insurance.
Yeah. But we're not there with, your ears. We
are, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'd argue it is just about as important.
Absolutely. We are a very vision biased society. I think if you don't know anything about the ears and someone does a would you rather lose your vision or lose your hearing, 9 times out of 10, the person's going to say, oh, I'd rather lose my hearing. I don't know what I would do if I lost my vision. When you lose your hearing, you lose, like, in my opinion, everything. Your connection to the world. Our sonic environments are so amazing. Survival, we've already talked about that. Verbal communication, appreciating music, and just being mentally connected to your surroundings. We take hearing for granted until something goes wrong with it. And if you know how special your hearing is and you really think about what sound does for your life, you would not want to live without it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Something just before I forget this, because I want to talk about like new tech and just things that are new and exciting in the world of audiology. But one thing I forgot to ask is, what is like the biggest offender of hearing damage in concerts? Like, what genre? Is there anything? Is it rock music because it's so like crunchy and has like a lot of mid high frequency information? Is it like DJ sets that have that like pumping kick drum that's smacking you? Is it it's I can't imagine it being orchestral music,
No,
although it gets kind of loud.
Yeah. Orchestral musicians' own instruments are typically the biggest offenders in their auditory world. So maybe we'll do a special like bonus episode sometime, because I actually specialize in orchestral hearing wellness, and I travel around the country and do residencies like on in-house hearing health clinics.
Oh, very cool.
So I'm going, I think it's in 3 weeks, I'm going back to the Kennedy Center to do a hearing clinic with the National Symphony Orchestra. I did my first one with them last year. But yeah, orchestral hearing wellness and orchestral hearing conservation is a really interesting ball game compared to other genres. So we'll put that to the side and talk about it more some other day. But for, the average concert going experience, a lot of it's honestly just loud. I feel like it used to be that metal was the worst, but a lot of genres are just really freaking loud at front of house. So then we have to start thinking about time. And if you're going to talk about logging hours listening to live music, it's electronic music. Electronic music, concert goers and producers and DJs, in my opinion, are logging the most hours out of any genre 2 times over per week in terms of production and consumption. So let's think about ARC. ARC was 3 days long, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then there's afters that a lot of people are going to from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And then they're sleeping for 3 hours and they're getting up and having a mimosa, and on goes the music because you're getting ready because it's day 2. The DJs who were playing those festivals, they were in, a different city. They were in New York playing an 8-hour set, got on the plane, came to Chicago, started producing some of what they're going to play on stage so it can be synced to the lights and all of that. And then they get on stage and they do it. And they've had, in the last 24 hours, 19 hours of sound exposure. So I'll have to send you this as well. I do a lot of mentoring of students. It's been really nice the last couple of years. There's been a lot of doctorate students who have reached out to me and just very curious about what we do. And they're very, very motivated to figure out how can I help. And so there was one student who is also a fan of electronic music. I think she had seen me on Instagram or something like that. So we connected over that. And she had to do a final year research project to get her doctorate degree. And she was interested in electronic music and sound exposure like that. So she just did her capstone project on hearing protection, attitudes, and use of electronic music concert goers. And she looked at all of these different demographics, and she had a all other genres category versus EDM, and compared to all other genres, longer hours, perhaps louder hours, lots of recreational substance use happening, which is something that we asked about, and we felt that it was important to ask about. De-identified, of course, but things like taking, recreational substances, illegal and illegal, can increase your risk for hearing injury from sound exposure. And then you're doing things like dancing for 8 hours. It's changing blood flow throughout the body. And so maybe you're dehydrated. Maybe you're not properly fueling your body. So your nutrition is different. So there's a lot of aspects about live music, but in particular electronic music, that arguably increase risk alone for sound-induced hearing loss. And then the nature of the sound itself in terms of loudness and time is also much longer and louder than other categories. So that was a long answer to say I think it's electronic music.
I think so.
Yeah.
In the lack of sleep, the way that these substances, whether they're like ototoxic, right? Meaning that it's like toxic to your ear.
Yeah.
Or that they just affect your blood flow or other hydration. I'm sure if you're all dehydrated, it's not good for your ears too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you guys heard it, so
Yeah. So
be
it's
aware.
it's use a sound level meter app and come on down to Nerd Town where I'm the mayor and I measure sound levels all over the place all the time. So with the NIOSH app, you can take a measurement, and then you can label it and save it. And so you can create this collection of, oh, that's right, on September 17th, I went to so-and-so bar after doing the podcast, and it was 88 dB in there. And you just like have a little collection of
Like a little
sound
mental
memories.
map and a collection. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah, exactly.
that's interesting.
You can also be cool. You don't also have to be nerd.
It can be cool. I think it can be
I
cool.
feel like
it's a way
cool.
of documenting.
Yeah.
So to continue the kind of culprits of hearing damage, we mentioned when you're sitting down to produce music, whether you're in a studio, like a kind of a proper studio or a home studio, I've always felt that you have to be a little bit careful with headphones, because I don't know, I feel like at least I get more, like, it's just, I don't know, harsher on my ears. The speaker's right next to your ear, opposed to using speakers, or like studio monitors. I guess you could call headphones studio monitors too. Anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Big speakers versus headphones. And is that kind of the culprit most of the times, is headphones, or?
Depends on how you use them. So an earbud, we'll use like an Apple earpod as the catch-all for that. So an in-the-ear bud or an over-the-ear headphone or an in-ear monitor, any ear level device is not inherently more dangerous for you than listening to the sound field. It's all about the levels at which you listen. There are arguments to be made that you can listen to the sound field quieter compared to an ear level device. On the other hand, if your sound field isn't clean and you're trying to compete with some sort of background sound, an ear level device that is physically isolating you from the environment will help you monitor lower. So when we're thinking about sound field exposure, sound level meter app, there's a smartphone based one is nice when you're on the go. If you live in your studio a lot of the time, buy a nice,
like a nice one.
Yeah, buy a sound level meter and put it in your studio. Get something fun with lights if you want to, and add it to the ambience of your setup. But turn it on and look at it and live by it. That's easy. That's an easy fix in terms of staying safe. When it comes to ear level devices, there are far fewer options for monitoring ear levels. So with some, going back to AirPod, for example, some smartphones will estimate your average listening level and ding you when you've gone over that allowed limit. So going all the way back to the top, what can I do to keep my ears safe? Wearing hearing protection, taking listening breaks, turning on your headphone notifications in your smartphone. If you're listening to headphones, earbuds with your smartphone, go into your settings, go into the sounds tab. Most smartphones have an option for you to put on a limiter and to set it in a 5 dB increment. So turn on the limiter and set it at what is reasonable for you. I put mine at 90 dB because I can listen at 90 dB for about 2 hours straight and be safe. So that's now the ceiling of my phone. And I try to listen under that. And then if Lady Gaga comes on, I crank it up to 90 for 3 minutes. And then I go back down because it's all about the average level over time. When it comes to more professional listening in the studio with headphones or an in-ear monitor, we're starting to see more people use studio reference in-ear monitors for their mixing because they can use it in their studio. And then if they're traveling somewhere else, they can bring their studio with them in the form of an in-ear monitor, keep working, and then when they get back in their physical studio, then they can check it on the speakers. With headphones and in-ear monitors, Sensaphonics has a device called the DB Check Pro. And obviously I'm from Sensaphonics. This is not a plug for Sensaphonics because this is literally the only headphone and in-ear monitor inline sound level analyzer. We have all of our models on it. We also have 120 models from our competitors on it, because whether or not you wear Sensaphonics or Sennheiser or Shure or any other number of brands, we want you to have this information. So you plug in the make and the model on the touch screen of what you're wearing, and you plug in the earphones into the dB check, and then you jump the dB check into your sound source, and you do your thing. And on the display screen, it tells you how loud the room is and how long can you listen according to both the NIOSH and the OSHA standards. It tells you in real time. And as you're listening and your levels are changing, it's displaying that up-to-date average. There's no delay. There's no change in sound quality. It is exactly the same as listening without the dB check. It took a long time to make it. It took a lot of brain power to make it, but that is the way to be absolutely sure that you're listening at a safe level.
And I'm just going to interject here because we're getting real techy. That's really cool. Like,
Awesome.
I would love to have one of those just to, like, check it out,
Yeah.
you know? I feel like from what I'm at least just telling myself right now is, like, just take breaks. Like, whether you're sitting at a computer, like, take a break to stand up because, like, your posture's probably bad.
Yeah.
Also, you've been looking at a screen, so, like, your eyes are probably strained. Your ears are strained. Like, when you're producing music, you're just, like, becoming a shrimp.
Yeah.
You're just like, ugh.
You go
So-
like full gremlin mode.
Yeah, so just take some breaks. That's my advice, at least. Well, thank you for breaking that down. So we
Yeah.
got concerts and just the studio environment, the ways to kind of stay safe in there.
And again, if you finish a studio session and your ears are feeling tired, that's not tiredness. That's the cells being basically mowed down from too much sound exposure. So that's a warning to you. You should not have auditory fatigue or fullness. You should not have ringing in your ears, new ringing in your ears after any sound exposure. If you do, it's very, very likely telling you that you've been listening too loud and or too long.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, people that suffer from hearing loss that is from disease and other things, like, let's say you're born without your hearing, is there any advances in technology lately that's, you know, making, let's say, these hearing aids better and more musical, so you could actually listen to music and it doesn't sound like garbage? Is there any advancements there? Are we thinking like Neuralink would be like a solution to some of this stuff? Are we thinking, because I mean, I feel like the OG Neuralink is really a what is it called, the thing that you like get put in here?
Cochlear implant.
The cochlear implant, which from my understanding, it like goes into the basilar membrane and like just is kind
Not
of
the nerve
oh, okay.
/ yeah, it's basically, well, no, you're on the right track. I should have corrected you. So do you want to talk about cochlear implants or do you want to talk about the new stuff?
Well,
I'll do both, but it's
cochlear implants
Yeah.
is interesting in the sense that, like, if you're in the deaf community and you get a cochlear implant, they're like, what is this? You're not part of our crew. And
yeah, and we're
there's
talking
a
about
stigma.
yeah, for folks who don't know, there's deaf, they're capital DEAF. That's referring to the deaf community where people self-identify as a deaf person, and it comes with a whole really interesting and rich culture as well in
And
terms
identity,
of
right?
and identity,
Yeah.
absolutely, as opposed to being like someone being like this. It's actually been saying I'm deaf has really been phased out. People are starting to say hearing impaired or hearing challenged a little bit more.
Okay.
But there was a period of time where people were using the word deaf really casually, while this deaf culture was, you know, they're like, you don't use that casually. That's my whole life. That's my whole sense of being. Yeah. So that's a little cultural aside, but yeah, it's a hot topic in the deaf community to be implanted or not. It's cochlear implants have gotten better and better in terms of processing sound, period. Earlier cochlear implants only had a few electrodes that were being inserted into the nerve in the cochlea itself, which means rather than having, 20 to 20,000 hertz laid out across all these different hair cells, we were getting everything compressed into eight bands of frequencies.
Wild.
Yeah. So the cochlear implants have a lot more different bands. I'll be honest, it's been probably a year since I've looked at any new models of cochlear implants, so I'm not sure what the current band specs are, but they are getting better at processing sound. Hearing aids are getting better at processing sound. Hearing aids are getting smarter. A lot of hearing aids have an AI component now. So the limit of hearing aids is that hearing aids and cochlear implants will always, always, always be geared towards optimizing speech. Their music processing has come a long ways, but speech and music live in different acoustic worlds. And so if we need something to work and someone's paying $7,000 to hear in a restaurant, they want to hear in the damn restaurant. They don't care what music sounds like. And then you have the far other end of the spectrum where I don't care if I can't hear during the restaurant. I'm a professional musician and I have this noise notch. I have to be able to hear music, and this sounds terrible. Even though processing strategies with hearing aids and cochlear implants have become much better, the hardware is the limitation still. So hearing aid microphones really roll off around 8,000 hertz, maybe 10,000 hertz if you're paying for like the $8,000 ones. But no matter how your audiologist goes and makes like a music program where they take compressed sound for speech and they make it more of a linear frequency response. It's like when we were talking about the outer hair cell loss earlier, the signal that's coming in is being compromised by the hardware of the hearing aid. It's not a microphone that's designed to be a full frequency spectrum. It's also not designed for high input levels either. So there's a lot of distortion because of the hardware of hearing aids. So one thing that I can recommend for people, so let's think I'm a musician. I have some high frequency hearing loss from sound injury and maybe a little bit of high blood pressure too. So I'm really looking to turn up 3 to 8K primarily. And then of course we want a little bit above that too. But my low frequency hearing is good. So I don't want to touch that. We have an in-ear monitor that has ambient mics on the level of the earpiece. And we made this in-ear monitor originally to stop musicians from pulling out one, like I was talking about earlier, so they could blend their monitor mix with ambient sound around them. The ambient mics can be controlled by a smartphone app that allows the listener to set the mic levels, but also 7 different bands of EQ. So what we actually started doing is we've started using it off-label as music performance hearing correction, music listening hearing correction is what I should say. So the microphones are MEMS mics. They have full frequency response. They can handle high input levels if they have to without distorting at all. And then the musician can go into the app and they can EQ the mics to match up with their listening needs. And then they turn the mics down. And that's where the hearing protection component comes into. So that's the second piece. In addition to, let's say hearing aids have pristine sound for music listening. They're not providing hearing protection from loud environments. So it's twofold. We have to protect the ears from sound injury, and we have to give the musician with hearing impairment proper sound. So
that's a delicate balance.
It is. And so for, if you're someone who's, picking up a guitar in your living room like once a year, let's see if we can optimize your hearing aids that you already have to be the best they can be with music. But if you're someone who's playing music once a month, it would be worth getting a dedicated in-ear monitor for music listening. they just live. Hearing aids and pro audio equipment are just in different universes when it comes to music still. I just don't think it's going to change anytime soon. I don't think that there's any incentive for hearing aid companies to create different hearing aid microphones to have an extended high frequency to serve 1% of their listeners.
Mm-hmm.
But those 1% are my whole life. So.
Right. So does this get into kind of what we were talking about with like the new tech? Is there other new tech that's exciting and maybe just like other hearing things that are interesting?
Yeah. So 3DME is new tech. It's been around for a couple of years, but it's really picked up the last year. It's been exciting.
And what's that?
That's the in-ear monitor with the ambient mics on it.
Gotcha.
So it stands for three-dimensional music enhancement. You can use it for hearing loss correction. You can use it to blend the mix in the ambient sound. You can use it like a tunable earplug. So, if someone is liking their passive filtered earplug, but they're wondering what's next, or I want a little more control over this earplug, there's a tunable earplug for you. So yeah, the 3DME is awesome. It's like the Swiss Army knife of in-ear monitors. It can really be made into anything.
Like bionic ears, kind of.
For real.
Yeah.
For real.
That's
Imagine like, I haven't done it yet. I should though. But if you wear the 3DME to a concert and you're kind of standing somewhere and you're like, ooh, that bass is a little heavy. You just go into the app and
EQ it
just
a little.
EQ it.
Just, turn that down a little bit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly. So that could be a lot of fun. DB check was something that's important to know about. We already talked about that. Tech, in terms of in-ear monitors, they're always coming out with new in-ear monitors. I challenge people to read a little bit more about drivers, if you wish. There's a lot of in-ear monitors. I see a new in-ear monitor coming out every year with 16 drivers. I think there's 18 drivers. I think I saw one with 21 drivers in a single earphone.
That's a lot of little drivers.
One question that I get a lot is, when are we going to figure out how to regrow hair cells?
Yeah.
And in the last couple of years, researchers have been able to use stem cell research to pursue gene therapy to stimulate the growth of hair cells in people with genetic hearing loss. So people who were born without certain sensory cells, some or all of them, to stimulate first-time growth of those cells. However, and this is important, Cloud, I hope you're listening.
Cloud, you want to get up on the couch?
You can come up here. Yeah.
Oh, now she's going to be like totally in your space. Cloud, no.
It's okay. You're being good.
She doesn't want you to be that close. Here you go.
That's perfect.
I can also put her in the other room.
Okay. You're so good.
Cloud.
Can you lay down? Can you lay down?
Cloud.
No.
She's like, I actually just want to like kiss your
She
face.
was like, you smell like Diet Coke.
I want some of that.
Here, I'll just pet her.
Okay, we can move her.
No, she's good. So with the gene therapy, we're seeing success with pharmaceutical intervention for stimulating the growth of new hair cells for people with genetic hearing loss. That is fantastic. That's exciting. That is not working for sound-induced hearing loss.
Oh.
Because the mechanisms of what's caused the loss are so drastically different.
Gotcha.
So, and I will say, let's say in theory, this therapy was working to regrow hair cells for sound-induced hearing loss. The estimated price tag per person is about $1 million. And
so that's like a little out of the spectrum.
Promise you, United Healthcare is not going to cover that.
No.
So, yeah, unfortunately. So for now, the best way forward is prevention if you can. And if you're in the early stages, stabilizing it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to be a fat bill.
Yeah.
Or just not attainable. I mean, maybe in the future we'll have some really, really interesting tech, but like
we'll see. Well, what's something that I find interesting is that with the development of the mRNA vaccine for COVID.
Yeah.
That's kind of been a really unique key that's unlocked a lot of potential interventions that we just thought were off the table for a long time. So there's a chance, and I actually believe that is what kind of put, I had an analogy, par for the course, steering the ship. What's a good moving in that direction analogy
I think you were hitting it. Yeah, okay. Like we're moving. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So I'll say that the MRA, the development of the mRNA vaccine, I believe, is what started to steer the ship in the direction of the gene therapy that we currently see. Maybe that is a stepping stone for regenerating sound or hearing cells from sound-induced hearing injury.
I think a lot of people have to like take a lot of this stuff upon themselves. Like, we're not going to be, you can't go up to the sound guy at the concert and be like, it's a little loud in here, dude.
No, exactly.
Can we turn it down for everyone?
I'm like there with my NIOSH app, and I'm like, excuse me, it's like 105 dB in here. At the end of the day, when it comes to hearing health and music, keeping your ears in good shape is an active choice every time. The entire industry is unregulated. There's a little bit more regulation in Europe, as I'm sure you know, in terms of front of house levels.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so check it out. A lot of music venues in Europe have strict standards, and they'll have like a noise thermometer, a decibel thermometer next to the stage. And if the band goes over, they get fined. So
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, we're not.
That's not very American, though.
I was gonna say you're not gonna see that happen here for quite a while. But what is happening is audiologists and audio engineers, a handful of them, a couple of them actually used to work at Sensaphonics, Heather Malick and Laura Sinnott. Amazing audiologists. Laura is a dual audiologist and audio engineer as well. But they've worked with audiologists all over the world, in the UK, Australia, a few places in Europe as well. And they've developed basically an educational protocol for hearing health and live music. And the acronym is called HELA. It stands for Healthy Ears, Limited Annoyance. And the idea is there's like 12 modules, and for every music venue to take it. So the sound people know, so the bartenders know, so security knows the basics of hearing health in these places.
The bartenders I always am stressed out for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, it's very reasonable. I think it's like $50 to take the course, and you get HELA certified. And It's good for like 5 years. So
that's dope.
The hope is that we can create a culture where music venues are saying, we're HELA certified. We care about you having
That's a great acronym.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
They're amazing. We're HELA certified. We care about you having a really fun concert experience while also doing this in a safe way. Because I know, I don't have to tell engineers, loud doesn't always mean good. You can have a very rich, interesting, exciting musical experience at 95 dB if you know how to mix it properly.
Mm-hmm. First of all, I just want to thank you for taking us through a very rich knowledge base of hearing protection, how your ears work, all that stuff.
You're welcome.
So thank you.
You're so welcome. It's my pleasure.
So something we always do at the end of the show, we asked you what your first concert was, but we always ask what like your most impactful concert was. And, you mentioned that Lady Gaga concert. I'm sure that was really important, but any other one, maybe it's related to hearing science. It doesn't have to be. It could just be like, wow, that was an amazing show.
Yeah.
But maybe there is something there that is like, I don't know, just something you walked away kind of changed.
Yeah, absolutely. The one that just instantly comes to mind is the summer of 2015 was my first summer in Chicago. So I was wrapping up my first year at Northwestern. Summer quarter was easier in the scope of audiology school, but still very intense. But I got to go out and actually be in Chicago a little bit more. And my younger sister came out for a day. She was still in Vermont at the time. She flew out to Chicago, and we got a day pass to go see Paul McCartney at Lollapalooza. And as much as I love my Lady Gaga, as much as I love my house music, my first and most impactful and I think everlasting love of music is the Beatles. Through and through, I'll always go back to the Beatles. And it was just the best day. It was exciting. It was my first big music festival on that scale. I had been to a couple mid-sized. It was a huge music festival. It was 95 degrees. It was really hot, but we didn't care. Being in downtown Chicago was so exciting. Being there with my younger sister, who I adore, was so exciting. She was in undergrad at the time. And we were kind of in the back of, I would say we were like midway in Grant Park, and Alabama Shakes were on before Paul, which is perfect as well. So we kind of said, let's stand in the middle of the field for Alabama Shakes, and then that's just where we'll stay for Paul McCartney. And there was a lot of space during Alabama Shakes. Listened to the set, absolutely killed it. And then we walked up maybe 20 feet, not very far in the scope of if you've ever been in Grant Park at that stage. Barely moved. We said, this is good. I'm happy to be here. And then 10 minutes before Paul came on, all of Lollapalooza decided to descend on the Grant Park stage, which was my first time there. I didn't know what was coming. And we got pushed up right in front of the stage. So even though we had been hanging out in the middle of the field, we ended up, without trying, front and center, 15 feet back from the rail. And there was Paul McCartney for 3 hours. And it was incredible. He sounded great. The energy was great. Played all my favorite tunes. But I will always, always, always remember, and you can find footage of this, I think. When the sun started going down, he had moved to the piano during this part of the set. And he was playing Maybe I'm Amazed. I'm like getting choked up. He was playing Maybe I'm Amazed, and the two giant screens that they had on either side of the stage, there was this shot from the back of the stage. And you could see Paul's silhouette, and then past him, you could see the crowd and the Chicago skyline at sunset. And in that moment, being there with my sister, I just thought, this is one of the best moments of my life. How lucky am I to be having this experience? And it was the best. So I have to stop or I'll start crying.
So Lollapalooza was my first festival, and it has a very special place in my heart. Now that I'm older, it's tough for me to go because I was one of those like kids that was running around. It was like freedom walking into there. But yeah, some of those shots that they get, like for the footage where it's looking out into the city. I mean, if you've never been there, like Grant Park, it just has the city all around it. So it's really a special place for the festival. It
is.
That's really cool.
And then part of the sentimentality of it was that I had moved away from home.
Yeah, this is your new home.
Yeah.
And you can be proud of how special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most Vermonters don't leave Vermont. We're very happy there as a people. So to go and be away for about 9 months and then have my sister come out and be with me for that experience was it was the best.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you. I haven't thought about that in a little bit. So
sometimes I feel like the what's your favorite concert question? It's like played out, but it's always a good time.
Good.
I think. Well, I always ask like artists that are on the show, like any shout outs to people that you really just feel like need some recognition are kind of the reason why you're here. Anyone you can think of besides like your family, I guess, unless there's like a very special reason.
Yes. I have to shout out, other than my family, other than some of the audiologists that I've mentioned, I have to shout out my elementary school teachers from Rutland Town School. That's where I did 1st grade through 8th grade. And in the 3rd grade, my music teacher, Bear Irwin, taught me how to play clarinet. And he was so kind, so patient, but did treat us like little adults and had expectations for us to succeed. And he changed the entire course of my life. I wouldn't be sitting here if I hadn't learned how to play clarinet with him. And I also have to give a shout out to Mrs. Carol Barbagallo, who was another one of my 3rd grade teachers. She was my homeroom classroom, so I had most of my classes with her, and she was just she used to have the eagle eye. You would not want to get caught by the eagle eye.
Oh, she was very aware of what was happening. She was
very aware of the classroom dynamics. But she was just an incredible person who taught me to be brave as a little kid. I was really shy when I was younger. So Mrs. Barbagallo and Carol, I should call her. She tells me to call her Carol, and I still call her Mrs. Barbagallo.
You still talk to her?
We text. Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
Nice.
I texted her a couple days ago. Yeah, we talk. She's the best. So Carol and Bear, if you're listening to this, thank you. The two of you set me up for success, and I wouldn't be here without you guys.
First shout out to like teachers that are, in our youth, especially 3rd grade. That's like, that was a big year for
It
for
is.
You. Yeah.
I feel like 3rd grade is when you're starting to, I feel like you enter a different phase of childhood when you're starting to be a little more sentient.
Yeah, for lack of a better word, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. You realize that you're on a path to becoming someone in the very early stages. And I feel like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade the experiences that you have can really set you up for success.
That's so real. And the teachers can be, I hated school.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because of the teachers.
Yeah.
There were some good teachers. But I just I did not want to be in school. I just wanted to be doing something else. But yeah, I love learning now. It's just that I have to find the right way to do it. And I don't know if school is that for everyone.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It was for me.
That's cool.
I was a
like
big nerd.
Little boys normally are just like, what's going on? I'm going crazy. I want to play video games and like run outside on the playground. Yeah. And girls are normally like typically more like studious. My girlfriend, very studious, loves school. My sister loves school. Me, I'm just like, I got to get out of here.
That's so funny. I literally 2 weeks ago, I just got a new planner and I was like giddy. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna break in this fresh planner.
That's so fun. Okay, I would get excited about like new schools. Like we go to like Office Depot or whatever and get some like planners, expandable notebooks. I'm like, okay, I'm all good. 2 weeks in, my backpack is just paper loose.
I was gonna say, oh no, were you a loose leaf kid?
Yeah. Oh. That's my no, it was bad. It was bad. I always told myself I was going to use the planners and then I just like didn't. I don't know. But anyway, I'm trying to be way more organized in my adult professional life.
Yeah.
So, because I actually see where it helps.
Yeah.
Whereas in school I was like, this is lame.
Yeah. And also like your brain's fully developed. That's nice.
It's different. Yeah.
It's different. Yeah.
Everything's clicking now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got this prefrontal cortex trying to deploy impulse control. That's always good. And problem solving and planning for the future. Literally. And yeah. in the planner.
I think it's helped me, like, I've just figured out how to manage myself. That's part of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good shout out. I like that. Normally I say, you know, like, where can people find you, like artistry, but you know, people can find you at Sensaphonics if they want to book an appointment. How would they do something like that?
Yeah, so I'm very proud of myself. You used to have to call Sensaphonics and make an appointment over the phone. And 3 months ago, I was struck by a bolt of inspiration, and I integrated our clinic calendar with Calendly. So you can click on the Sensaphonics website. There's a book an appointment tab, and you can see all the different appointment types, and you can select one that makes sense for you. Most people are going to be new patient or returning patient, and within those categories, musician or non-musician. You can be, to me, a musician is someone who has any intention to play any amount of any level of music. If you play guitar for 30 seconds once a week, I'm going to consider you a musician. If you're someone who's a concert goer just looking for earplugs or sleep plugs or something like that, I'll have you sort yourself into the non-musician category. But yeah, you can book online. And then I also have Instagram. It's ears.by.shannon. I'm kind of quiet on it. I'm trying to be more active on it, but sometimes I'm able to post interesting behind the scenes looks at what I do, advice, funny anecdotes.
We got to get you on that Mythbusters channel where you're like busting audio, whatever.
Yeah, audio myths.
Audio myths. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be cool. I would watch.
It could be like, I don't know. I'll workshop this. Like, we could talk about, I could evaluate ear impressions on this channel because I see a lot of bad ear impressions that have been shipped in from around the world. That's a whole other thing. Your gear is only as good as your ear impressions. So see someone who knows what they're doing. But what if I evaluated ear impressions and I could call it like debunking the gunk or something?
That would be interesting. More niche. They always say to niche down and just like figure out something. But like in the audiologist community, people would be like, this is good.
Yeah.
You never know too. It's like, what are you doing it for? You know what I mean? Like, it's a question you should ask yourself because like you could do that and then get the attention of some other audiologist and then work with them. They're like, that's really cool. So it doesn't have to be like to blow up and be like this personality or whatever. It could just be like, hey, this is out there on the internet world. What do we think about it? And maybe one person connects with it that's like, oh my God, I would have never found you if I didn't make this. So that's my thing. Yeah. At least.
Yeah. Well, I'll pick your brain off the record for someone who would maybe edit videos for me.
For sure.
I am happy to be on camera as much as is useful for folks, but I need someone else to package it up for me.
That's fair enough. Yeah, you already do your own thing and you're an expert in that. Like, someone else can take care of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for coming through. I really appreciate you making your way over here. And guys, if you made it this far, we appreciate you listening and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Peace. Yo, what's up, guys? This is your host, Jerry. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. If there's someone you'd like to see on the show, leave a comment below. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, we'd appreciate it if you leave a review and hit that 5-star rating. Thank you for your support, and we'll catch you on the next one.